There's a certain intimacy in the vulnerability that comes with life's interruptions. The unexpected moments where, despite all efforts to create a perfect atmosphere, the universe seems to have its own agenda. One of those nights, my partner and I were lying in bed, the soft glow of the bedside lamp casting long shadows across the room. Everything seemed perfect. One of those rare instances where all the little distractions of the day fade away, and you're just there, present, in the moment. The world outside might as well have not existed. It was just us. As the evening unfolded, we found ourselves lost in each other, a dance of connection that felt unbreakable. I remember the warmth of their skin against mine, the way the air around us seemed to hum with anticipation. It's funny how the mind creates these little capsules of memory, frozen in time, perfect in their fragility. But life, in its own unpredictable way, rarely allows such moments to stay intact. We were tangled up in each other when, suddenly, there was a loud crash from the next room. It wasn't the kind of small, ignorable noise that happens in the background of life, but a sound that demanded immediate attention. For a split second, we were paralyzed, frozen in the shock of it. The mood evaporated instantly, like steam from a pot taken off the stove. We jolted apart, adrenaline rushing through our veins as our minds scrambled to make sense of what could have caused such a ruckus. I threw on a shirt, my partner following suit, and we rushed into the living room. The sight that greeted us was nothing short of chaos. My cat, a mischievous little thing with more curiosity than sense, had somehow managed to knock over an entire bookshelf. Books lay scattered across the floor, some open, others splayed out in odd angles. A few of my favorite novels had fallen spine first, and I winced at the thought of the damage. Picture frames that had once adorned the shelves now lay cracked on the ground, their contents, a collection of photos from various trips, spread out like fallen memories. The cat, of course, sat in the middle of the mess, looking as innocent as ever. Her wide eyes blinked up at us as if to say, "What? This wasn't my fault." For a moment, neither of us knew what to do. We just stood there, caught between frustration and disbelief. The intimacy of the moment that we'd been wrapped in earlier felt like a distant memory, as we now faced the reality of cleaning up this unexpected disaster. I sighed, bending down to pick up a few of the books. My partner joined me, their hands gently brushing against mine as we gathered the scattered items from the floor. It was one of those moments where laughter would have been the perfect response, but neither of us was quite there yet. We were too busy assessing the damage, checking to make sure nothing of real importance had been broken. The cat, of course, remained completely unfazed, curling up in a nearby chair and beginning to clean herself with the kind of nonchalance only a cat could muster. As we worked, the mood from earlier was all but forgotten. We spent the next hour carefully placing the books back onto the shelves, rearranging the ones that had been dislodged, and sweeping up the shards of broken glass from the picture frames. It wasn't exactly how I had imagined the night going, but there was something oddly comforting about it. Even though the intimacy had been interrupted, there was a different kind of connection in the way we worked side by side, silently fixing the mess. It was as if life had decided to remind us that not everything needed to be perfect. Sometimes, it's in the imperfections that the real moments of connection happen. Another time, a few weeks later, the universe decided to throw us another curveball. This time, there was no cat involved, no loud crash from the other room. Instead, it was my own body that betrayed me. We were once again in bed, caught up in the moment, when suddenly, a sharp pain shot through my leg. At first, I tried to ignore it, thinking it was just a fleeting discomfort. But the pain intensified, and before I knew it, my entire calf muscle seized up in one of the worst cramps I'd ever experienced. I let out an involuntary groan, my body jerking as the cramp took hold. My partner, alarmed, immediately stopped what they were doing, concern flashing across their face. I tried to play it off, but the pain was too intense. I could feel my muscles tightening, a knot of tension that refused to release no matter how hard I tried to stretch it out. It was one of those bizarre, painful moments that seemed to come out of nowhere, completely ruining any semblance of romance we had been building. My partner, ever the problem solver, immediately sprang into action. They sat up and grabbed my leg, trying to massage the cramp out. But instead of helping, their well-intentioned efforts only made things worse. I was laughing and wincing at the same time, caught between the ridiculousness of the situation and the sharp, stabbing pain in my leg. It was anything but sexy, and we both knew it. Eventually, the cramp subsided, but by then, the mood had once again been thoroughly destroyed. We sat there for a moment, catching our breath, before we both burst out laughing. It was the kind of laughter that comes from a place of pure absurdity. There we were, in the middle of what was supposed to be an intimate moment, and instead, I had almost fallen off the bed because of a leg cramp. It was ridiculous, and yet, in that ridiculousness, there was a kind of beauty. We ended up spending the rest of the night talking, the physical connection forgotten as we shared stories, jokes, and the little details of our day. The cramp, which had initially felt like an annoyance, became a source of humor, a shared experience that we could look back on and laugh about. It wasn't the night we had planned, but in a way, it was better. We had been reminded, once again, that life rarely goes according to plan, and that's okay. These moments, as frustrating as they were at the time, taught us something valuable. They taught us that intimacy isn't always about perfect moments or flawless execution. Sometimes, it's about the interruptions, the unexpected twists and turns that force you to pause and take stock of the situation. It's about being able to laugh at yourself, to not take things too seriously, and to find connection in the chaos. Looking back, I realized that those moments, the bookshelf crash, the leg cramp, were gifts in their own way. They reminded us that intimacy isn't just about the physical connection. It's about the way you handle life's little disruptions together. It's about being able to shift gears when things don't go according to plan, to laugh at the absurdity of it all, and to find comfort in the knowledge that, no matter what happens, you're in it together. The cat, of course, remained a constant source of unpredictable interruptions. She never quite understood why she wasn't allowed to sit on the freshly made bed or why her sudden bursts of energy at 3 a.m. weren't appreciated. But in a way, she became a symbol of the unpredictability of life, the way things can change in an instant, and how you have to be willing to roll with the punches. In the end, those interruptions became part of our story. They became the moments we looked back on with fondness, the memories we shared with each other when we needed a reminder that life is rarely perfect. And perhaps that's the greatest lesson of all, that true intimacy isn't about chasing perfection, but about embracing the imperfections that make life and love so wonderfully unpredictable.